My husband David is a hero. That's what the newspapers call him. As a lead detective in the major crimes unit, he's the man who puts the monsters behind bars. To the world, we were the gold standard of a power couple. To me, David was a man who was married to his badge, leaving me alone in a 4,000-square-foot house that felt more like a mausoleum. Then there was Julian. Julian didn't have a badge. He had a criminal record, a motorcycle, and a way of looking at me that made me feel like I was actually alive, not just a trophy on a shelf. Our affair was a high-wire act. We met in dingy motels on the edge of the county, places David would never frequent. The night everything changed started like any other. David called to say he'd be pulling a double shift. A high-priority case, he'd said. I did what I always did. I put on my leather jacket, took the back roads, and met Julian at a roadside tavern called the Rusty Nail. We were there from 9 p.m. until 2 a.m. I snuck back into my house at 3 a.m., showered the scent of smoke and Julian off my skin, and crawled into bed just as David was getting home. He looked exhausted. He kissed my forehead, smelling of stale coffee and crime scene latex. "We got him, Sarah," he whispered. "We found the guy who robbed the jewelry mart. A witness put him at the scene at midnight." I smiled, playing the supportive wife. "I'm so proud of you, honey." The next morning, I turned on the news while making coffee. My heart stopped. The suspect wasn't some career criminal. It was Julian. They showed his mugshot. His lip was split, his eyes defiant. The news report stated he was being held for an armed robbery that occurred at 11:45 p.m. The problem? At 11:45 p.m., Julian's hands were nowhere near a jewelry store. They were on me. I spent the day in a cold sweat. If I stayed silent, Julian, a man who was many things but not a thief, would go to prison for 10 years. If I spoke up, I would have to tell my husband, the lead detective, that his star suspect was actually his wife's lover. By evening, David came home beaming. "The DA is fast-tracking it. We found the mask in his saddlebag. It's an open and shut case." "The mask?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yeah. He says he was framed, says he was at some bar, but he has no alibi. No one at the bar recognized him." Of course they didn't. We were in a private booth in the back corner. The only person who could save him was me. I waited until David was in the shower. I grabbed my burner phone and texted the lawyer listed on the news report. "Julian is innocent. I can prove where he was." The reply came instantly. "Who is this? Can you testify?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. 3 days later, I couldn't take the guilt anymore. I saw the way Julian looked in the preliminary hearing on TV, defeated. He hadn't given me up. He was going to take the fall to protect my reputation. That night, I sat David down. I didn't start with the affair. I started with the truth. "David, you have the wrong man for the jewelry mart job." He laughed. "Sarah, not now. I'm tired." "I was with him," I said. The room went deathly silent. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway sounded like a hammer. "You were with who?" David asked, his voice dropping into that terrifying interrogation register. "Julian, from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m., we were at the Rusty Nail. He couldn't have robbed that store because he was with me." David didn't explode. He didn't scream. He just stared at me. He looked at my hands, then my eyes, searching for a lie. When he realized I wasn't joking, he stood up and walked to the window. "How long?" he asked. 6 months. He turned around, and for the first time in 10 years, I saw the hero break. I spent 72 hours straight building that case, Sarah. My team worked their fingers to the bone. And you're telling me you're his alibi? He's innocent of the robbery, David. You know he is. I know he's a piece of trash who's been sleeping with my wife. He roared, finally losing it. He swept the dinner plates off the table. Shards of porcelain flew everywhere. "Do you have any idea what this does?" If I drop the charges based on your testimony, my career is over. It looks like a cover-up. It looks like I'm in on it. Then let an innocent man go to jail? I cried. Is that what a hero does? The aftermath was a nightmare. David didn't drop the charges immediately. He tried to find another way, but there wasn't one. The witness who identified Julian had been pressured by one of David's junior officers. The mask had been planted by the actual thief, who knew Julian's reputation. David had to walk into his captain's office and recuse himself. He had to hand over the file and explain that his wife was the key witness for the defense. The scandal hit the local papers like a bomb. Detective's wife admits to affair to save criminal lover. David was put on administrative leave. He moved out that night. He didn't just leave me. He left the life he loved. He couldn't walk into the precinct without every cop in the building looking at him with pity or disgust. Julian was released a week later. I expected him to come to me. I expected us to ride off into the sunset, the true love that survived the fire. But when I met him outside the jail, he didn't hug me. He looked at me with something that felt a lot like resentment. "You shouldn't have done it," he said. "What?" "Julian, I saved you." "You didn't save me, Sarah. You ended me. Every cop in this state is going to be looking for a reason to put me back in that cell now. You made me the man who broke the golden boy. I can't stay here." He got on his bike and left. He didn't look back. Now, I'm the woman the whole town whispers about. I lost my husband, my home, and my dignity. David filed for divorce and moved 2 states away to start over as a private security guard. He hasn't spoken to me since the day I told him the truth. Sometimes I wonder if it would have been better to let Julian go to jail. At least then, only one person's life would have been ruined. But as I sit in my quiet, empty apartment, I realize that the truth didn't set anyone free. It just cleared the room so we could all be alone.